Hey, it's Frank, that one web guy, and I'm back with another video. In this video, I had somebody ask me how to color in Procreate, meaning how do you take a coloring book page, which is a very popular topic, and how to use Procreate to color that page. So I'm just going to do the screen recording here. You won't see my pencil movements doing it this way, but it's just easier to see the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Procreate. And you can see that I've been coloring some pages here. It's kind of relaxing for me, plus I also design coloring book pages. So I'm going to go ahead and click plus, and most of them I do are paper size. So you can see here on the page it says, oops, about moved it. It says paper, so I'll click that, and I want to rotate my page. I just use my two fingers and rotate it. I should probably do a second recording of this and do picture in picture, but anyway, the first thing we want to do is import a picture. So we come up to the wrench at the top and we want to click on add, and in this case I'm going to do it two different ways so you can see how it happens. First one I'm going to do is insert a photo, and it pulls up your photo reel, and I'm just going to grab a picture from one of my books here. This is actually from my book called Mutants, M-U-T-A-N-T-S, Mutants. You can find that at doodledcoloringbook.com. Click on the more coloring pages link, but you can see I just kind of resized it. I brought it up to scale there to fill the page. You could go all the way at the edges if you want. Oops, I do that occasionally. Insert photo. I actually clicked off somehow. Let's go ahead and click on the mutants again, and I can just pinch out till it fills the page if I wanted, or give it a little bit of a border. I've been giving it just a little bit of a border. Really doesn't matter. It's all personal preference. And then once you have it where you want, you just click the arrow there at the top again, and it's ready to go. So what's key here though is to make sure that you use layers. If you're not familiar with layers, it's the second icon up in the upper right hand corner. You click it there, and then you have different layers. I don't do anything on the base layer unless I want to edit the photo itself. Maybe there's something I don't like that I could actually clean up before I start coloring. And that's a different topic. I'm just talking about coloring right now. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to click the plus to create a new layer, and it's on top. So that anything over that would color over the top. So if I started coloring now though, let me go ahead and pick a color. Just click a blue. I like to use the airbrush tool. So if I go up to airbrush and use the soft brush, we can control the how big the brush is and the opacity of that brush. I usually go full opacity, and I just shrink it down to something manageable. So maybe we wanted to start coloring the sky. Notice it's kind of faint though by doing it this way, and it covers over the other lines, and this is typical. This is what would happen. So what I'm going to do is undo, and I go back into the layer, and where it says the N there, if I click that, that's saying that it's in normal mode. What I want to do is just go up to the next one, or two up, that says linear burn. That's just one of the preferences. Sometimes you could come down and use hard light, but generally I like linear burn. So then I click off, make sure that our brush is selected, and now when I start coloring with the brush, oops, I've got white there again. I didn't change the color to what I would want for maybe a sky color here. So let me go back and I start coloring, and now when I go over those other lines, it makes them darker, but at least you can see the lines. So what I usually do if I'm doing something like the sky, and I know this is a little overkill, this is just me, it just makes it easier for me. I'll go back and make sure that I'm still on the blues and everything like that and on the right layer. I'll make the brush just a little bit bigger, and I'll just go edge to edge, get close to any place that I want the blue to color. And as I said, this is just my personal preference. You may want to go into all the details, but I just do it this way just because it's easier for me, or I just like to do it this way. I have a background in technical illustration, so I just like things to be sharp and crisp. So then what I go do is I click the eraser and I zoom in, and then I just use the eraser tool to clean up what I oversprayed or overcolored. Oops. And I know that's a little bit more work. That's totally up to you though, what you prefer. If you prefer just to go in and outline the blue everywhere that you want, I just like doing it that way because it gets into the areas, which I should have done it more here, which I still can. I can come in here and color these to make sure that I get the sky behind the trees and all the spots like that. And then it usually doesn't take too long, and I find it kind of enjoyable to just come in here and clean this up. There's just something about it for me, just to come in and do that. You know, I'm just doing this kind of fast so you can see what I do. We can adjust the brush to get in here tight. Oops, not tight enough. Go a little bit smaller, and you kind of play with the brush size, and if you zoom in, it's a little bit better as well. So you can get along the edges if you want. As I said, I'm just going kind of fast so I can make this a quick tutorial. If you have any questions that you or a video you would like to see, visit justaskfrank.com, submit a question, and I'll try to get that answered as quickly as possible in a video or maybe just a direct email, depends on what it is. I usually use that for my members area, but I'll also use it here in this case as well. I just like answering questions and helping. So I just go through here and clean this up. As I said, you don't have to, but if you leave it and you go to pick another color, sometimes the next color kind of bleeds and it's kind of darker when you go to do that. And I'll show you what I mean here. So if I go to do another layer, maybe I'm wanting to color these whatever tendrils or whatever you want to call them, I'll do a new layer and I put it on top, and I'll click on the linear burn, and I'll pick my color here. Let's go with something red. I'll go something kind of in between here. So like, oops, change your brush, Frank, change your brush. So if I go here and color, it looks kind of more of a brown. Notice if you get close to the edge, the line turns a little bit darker black, darker black. So you can see, I'm just going to do this real quick, but I like to color it, so just kind of follow it around. So now on the same color here, if I come over here where it's already colored and I go to color it, notice how much of a deeper red it is. It changes the color, it blends the two, which is good if you're wanting to blend. That's totally up to you. You know, maybe you're wanting to mix some colors when you know something overlays. It kind of gives it a cool effect when you're in a situation like this where I didn't have the white below it. It blends in there nicely. I'm giving hand gestures like you can see them. Just know that I'm making hand gestures for you. Good ones. So I color that in. It's like, well, I should have erased that. So all I have to do is actually I can either turn this layer off, or I can just come down to this layer, leave it on, and make sure that I have the right layer selected that I want to erase from. Click the eraser tool and just come in here and erase. And when you erase, it keeps, of course, the top color because it's on a different layer. That's why I love working with layers. So we can just kind of come in here and clean this up really well. Something I like to do, remember to pick up your pencil occasionally. That's what just happened. I sit there and erased the whole thing, and then I didn't pick up my pencil, so that when I went to undo, it undid everything that I'd been coloring because I hadn't picked up my pencil. So I want to keep this fairly short, just give you good instructions on how to color with Procreate for you today. So I think you get the gist of it, though. You can see how it makes a big difference on when you're coloring layers. Something else I like to do here is if I'm doing a background, you may want to do a shade. Maybe you want to be lighter at the bottom and dark at the top. So if I go back to our sky layer, you can actually label these if you want. So if I hold down let's see, there's a rename here. I could actually put in, come on, rename, and just type in sky, or something like that. SKY, sky. Nope, there we go. What I can do here is if I wanted to be lighter at the top than it was down here at the bottom, I can just pick I can pick the blue that we have there. If I just hold down my pencil, it picks up that color again, and I'm close to it and I want it to be lighter, so I'll just move it up towards the white just a little bit, And then I take my brush and go kind of large again, and I know I'm going to have to do some more erasing. That's why I usually try to do it first. I can do just kind of back and forth and get a little bit of variation. Then I can come up here to Gaussian blur. With that, I can actually slide my finger. You'll notice at the top it says Gaussian blur 14%, 20%, 22%, but you notice the hardness goes away the more you slide to the right, and it just creates a cool blend, giving your background transition a little more look, and you're getting the light to dark. Once you get it the way you want, just click on the Gaussian blur, the magic wand there, and that goes away. Then of course you'd want to clean that up again. That's why I usually try to do, if I'm going to do any blurs, or another thing I like to do if I haven't, I'm going to turn this to white, or as white as I can. I'll go to the brush that says elements, and we have one here called clouds. So I can actually color some white clouds in here, give it some cloud effects. You can see those pop in there, which looks really cool. So I usually do those as well before I clean up the background. It says that that's just my personal preference. You could do whatever you want. So then I'll go back to my airbrush, soft, click on eraser. Now you might want to make sure that your eraser is on soft brush or whatever you prefer. Maybe you want something a little harder, and then we can clean this up easy enough. As I like to start big, just kind of go through there and just color away. You know, as I said, when I go to clean up, I get big areas first, making sure I don't get outside my lines, and just kind of clean up everything that I want to. As I said, just to me, the erasing part's almost as fun as the coloring part, but I just get it close, and then you know, as I said, it's up to you how many layers you want. I think there is a limit to how many layers you have. I've never hit it. I used to know. I looked it up one time, but I can't recall what it is. I'm not going to erase this all, so you can. I think you get the gist of what we're doing here. So if I wanted, these are actually, I think they're supposed to be. I put it in as dandelions when I generated it, but I think it looks more like mushrooms to me. Mutant dandelion army. Just an idea I had, thought it would look cool, and I got some of my cloud there. Tried to rush it. So as I said, you could create layers, and of course you can adjust your layers if you want. Bring one layer underneath another. You could drag this one down below, but you know, you have to remember what that affects as you do that. If they're cut out or erased underneath it, it really doesn't make much difference. I usually use that if I'm going to make sure that I want to clip something over the top of the other. So I'll just go ahead and click another layer. I'm going to bring that one to the top. As I said, you can name them if you want. I'll come in here and I want a kind of a mushroom color. So I'll come over here and just kind of play around a little bit. We want to make sure that we change this to our linear burn. And as I said, we can get fairly close. A lot of times I will color solid like this. Getting a little sloppy here, but just trying to get the point across. If I want to get a little closer here, some cleanup to do on, you know, cleaning up the other layer, but I think you get the idea. So we'll get this guy all the way around here. And okay, I just gotta do it. I gotta do it. Once you get really comfortable with your Apple Pencil, you know, you get a pretty good grasp of where your limits are as you're getting close to the edge. I do a lot of technical illustration and drawing myself, so coloring just is a kind of a different medium for me. Gives me a break or a relief from drawing. I can just color away. So if I want the next phase to be a little bit lighter, I know that I can just go to the left a little bit, maybe up, and then we can color this in. I want to go a little bit wide so I can get more surface colored, and then I can come in here and adjust as need be. You know, just get close, and then I can fill in the rest of them. Now these probably won't be all the same color, be similar. I may, you know, maybe some of them will be gray. Mushrooms come in different colors, green and For some reason or other, as that I'm overlaying that, it's giving me a lighter color because I'm using a lighter brush. Oh, I hit the eraser, that's why. Something you might notice, sometimes if you double tap on your eraser or on your pencil, it will switch tools in Procreate. Other apps do that as well, but Procreate, you can actually set where that's set. I mean, you can go into your settings and preferences and change that if you don't like that, or maybe you want it to go to like your last color. You can actually do that. We can undo. Come on, I did it again, or hit the eraser. Trying to get too close to that eye. So as I said, you can just kind of go through and pick colors. Maybe you have a color palette set. You could do that as well. You just find colors that work for you. I just go through and do what I want. I've gone through and created a palette when I'm working on something a little more serious. But you can see that's the start of a coloring page, and then when you're ready, you can just go click on the gear or the wrench, click share, and click however you want to share it. If I want to save it, I might, as with all the layers and everything, you can either save it as Procreate or PSD. The PSD is for Photoshop, but the Procreate file, you could use that to back up. That way, if anything happens to your tablet, you can always pull that Procreate file back in and edit it. That's totally up to you. When I'm going to post it somewhere or just save it for my own personal preferences, I go to JPEG, and then you can save it, wherever if you save an image, it goes to your camera roll on your tablet. You could go to Dropbox or whatever. I can, if I save mine as a file, save to files, then I can actually save it to any of the number of files that I have. I can go into I have a network area storage which isn't connected at the moment apparently. I can come back and do that later, but I would just pick the folder and drop it in there, or I could go into my Dropbox and maybe I have a folder there for images and just drop it in there if you wanted to. Most of the time I just drop it in my save the image and drop it on my camera roll, and it's there. When I go here now, you can see if I scroll down, it's now here in our photos, and you can do whatever you normally do with it. I was going to show you the other way real quick before I wrap up. Instead of, I think the first time I did it, I did add, and then I select insert a photo. So in this case, if we wanted to, we'd go to insert file. I really wish my network drive was connected because I usually do it that way. But for some reason or another, it's not connecting. Insert a file. Let's go ahead and just go to Dropbox. I'm not sure what I have here that this will work. It's just these are just beach boxes and stuff. So I'm going to insert a file. It didn't insert it. I think the file was too big. Let me go ahead and create a new page here. Turn these others off so we can see what we're doing here. So insert a file. I'm going to Dropbox. I'm just going to grab something small here. This will work, I hope. Still too big. Insert a file. Of course, this only does this when I'm trying to do something live. This should work. Image that I drew. There we go. Image I drew some time ago, so I can import that if I wanted to. That's from a file and not from the photo. Get kind of close. And then again, I could just come in here, create a new layer, do the linear burn. I wanted to pick a color that's maybe kind of an orangish, goldish color. Make sure I get my disk here in the middle, and then I could come in and start coloring away. And there you have it. That's everything you need to know about how to color in Procreate with the Apple Pencil. I hope that you found this useful. If you have any questions, be sure to post them in the comments below, and I'll be back again with another training soon. Thank you.